If you're a first time mom trying to figure out what to put on the registry, I can totally relate to the sense of overwhelm. What do you buy and what will it all cost? Well, today's question comes from Macy. She writes, my husband and I are expecting our first baby. There's so much to buy and everything is so expensive. How do new parents do it? I have no idea what's a good buy and what's overpriced. How do you keep from overbuying for your baby? Well, despite what it seems, all of the best gadgets are not going to make you the best mom. But if you're interested in discussing estimated costs or different ways to save, then this episode is for you. But before we answer Macy's question, if this is the first time we're hanging out, my name is Brianna. I'm a fellow mom and money coach, and here we answer questions from moms for moms all about money and real life. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. So, the first category is going to be the nursery and sleeping category. Most parents were going to spend anywhere from $560 up to $1,240. The items in this category are going to be a crib, baby mattress, sheets, a monitor, blackout curtains, white noise machine, changing table, dresser, rocking chair, swing or a bouncer, bassinet, sleep sack, swaddles, and blankets. This list is really extensive. I will link a resource for you down in the episode description below where you can actually download the exact form and then use it for your own budgeting purposes. Even though there may be higher costs at a department store or if you put things on your registry, that doesn't mean that you have to purchase them brand new. Now, when it comes to some of the things that I mentioned, like one great way to save is to not buy all of these extra things until your baby is born and you know if you actually need them. For example, the white noise machine, the changing table. Here is a little bit of a funny story. The need to nest. So we were setting up our nursery ahead of time, and I was so excited to have everything in proper order and everything placed just where I wanted it. And I had in my mind, the shabby chic type of decor look. And where we lived, there was a lot of older furniture available, and it was pretty easy to find an old dresser secondhand. It was listed as an antique dresser, which usually means a higher price tag. We go and we purchase this dresser. We paid $100 for it. And I kid you not, as soon as my husband handed over the cash and we're ready to load this antique dresser into our car, which the plan was to use like a long, like low dresser. That way I could also use it as a changing table. And I'm thinking like, this is great. I'm, paying a little bit more for a dresser, but I have two purposes out of it. So we go to put it in the car and I kid you not, it like falls apart as we put it in the car. I'm realizing the error of my ways because it is an antique. I'm recognizing like, wow, this dresser is probably not safe for our child because it's very likely that this is covered in lead paint. So it was not really used and we were out $100. Now, the alternative thing that I did because I needed something to put my baby clothes in was I used like a Walmart bookshelf. I then used diaper boxes after the diapers were taken out, and it would easily fit like 3 diaper boxes in a row, 2 shelves, and I just would put my baby's clothes into these diaper boxes and then pull them out like drawers. My eldest is now 6, and this is still what we use for his clothes. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing that we haven't upgraded to a dresser, but if it works, then why? Now, if you're a little bit more of a minimalist like me, some parents will forgo a dresser altogether and hang their kids' clothes up on hangers. Some parents will just get like baskets and put them on the floor and just like toss their kids' clothes in the basket. Or if you're like a busy mom, you might just like your baby clothes might just live in a basket unfolded, going directly from the clothes basket to the wash, to the clothes basket to the wash. So, is a baby dresser a requirement? Maybe not. Similar to the dresser was the changing pad situation. So, I used a changing table that was very graciously gifted to us by a friend for probably the good first 3 months. And then at some point, you just seem to graduate from the changing table to the floor. And this would be one of the things that I might suggest to other parents to kind of see if that might be something that you specifically want. Possibly think about the fact that the top of your dresser could be used as a changing table. You don't have to have one. And depending on how you end up parenting, or not just parenting, but your style as a parent, at a certain point, usually about 3 months, is where they drastically decrease in their diaper use. And so you're not standing at a table quite as often changing all of their diapers. And they also tend to get more wiggly at around the 3 month mark. And it was a lot harder for me to keep them safely on the changing table and change their diaper. And it was just a lot safer for me just to change them directly on the floor. If you get a typical changing pad that comes in most diaper bags, is like the simple ones that are easy to wipe down if you get a mess on it. Okay, so if that's so easy to clean, then why are we purchasing a separate piece of fabric that will get just as dirty, but to clean it, it requires to go in the wash? Like, that takes way more effort than cleaning a really easy wipe down diaper pad that happens to have a very slick, slippery surface that you can sanitize with a wipe way faster than if you need to take a poopy diaper cover and then wash it. So just some things to think about that might end up saving you a few extra bucks. So essential feeding items that you'll most likely need for your baby's first year are going to be bottles, breastfeeding supplies, a bottle sanitizer or a sterilizer, a bottle warmer, high chair bibs, birth cloths, a baby food processor or blender, and sippy cups. So with all of those items in mind, most parents on average are going to spend anywhere from $360 up to $660 for that first year. What do you need out of this list? Even though you might be planning to breastfeed, I do think it is helpful to get your child acclimated to a bottle just for any reason that you may not be available or an emergency happens and you're not actually there to feed your child. We'll talk more about breastfeeding in a separate episode. I never bought a bottle sterilizer. If you have like an infant that is very maybe has a health complication, then that may be something that's worth it to invest in to make sure they're healthy and stay safe. But you can actually boil or put your bottles and nipples and all of the other things that you need for your bottles into boiling water, sterilize them that way, and then pull them out to dry. Is it a little bit more cumbersome? Yes, but it may save you on having something else in your home, and it may also save you a little bit of money, especially if it's not something that you use on a regular, normal basis. Like some breastfeeding moms that solely breastfeed, and then they offer a bottle every few days just to make sure that their child has that ability, that it's not going to be a challenge if they need to take a bottle in the future. A baby food processor or blender. Okay, so I totally had the expectation when I became a mom that I was like, oh, I'm going to be doing all of the mom things. I'm going to be making my own baby food. I'm going to be, I don't know, what's the other typical mom thing that you may think of? Well, it didn't happen. I probably got my food processor out that I bought specifically to be able to make baby food. I made one attempt to make that and never used my food processor again. I realized that the effort it took to get it all out, assemble it, take it all apart, and clean it all again was so much time and effort, was way more than the cost associated to just buying the food that was already pre-made. A little bit for that reason, I also tended to gravitate a little bit more towards baby-led weaning. That really eliminated my need to even have a food processor. It might be something that you might want to wait to purchase until you figure out what type of parent you want to be, because even though you may have this grand EOS idea like I did that I was going to be making all of these pureed baby foods, I got to that point in my mom stage and I was just like, nope, this isn't happening. And one way that you can kind of evaluate to determine if you even want to buy a food processor or any other type of item or product ahead of time is to see if one of your friends or family members happens to have it and see if you can just borrow it for a short season or period of time to allow you to test it and see if that's something that you want to continue doing and then make the purchase. All right, our next category is clothing. So typically, parents are going to spend anywhere from $100 to $500 clothing their child for the first year. And this is going to include various sizes or amounts of onesies, bodysuits, sleepers, pants and tops, socks and booties, health no, not health. Oh my word. Hats, jackets, coats, and swimsuits. Now, depending on where you live, you may not even need a jacket or a coat or a swimsuit, but here's my honest mom opinion about this, okay? It was so much easier to just buy a swim diaper, put it on my kid, have that be it. Because with how little they were in the water during that first year, it probably was not worth it to me to go out and purchase a separate swimsuit specifically for their size and their age, when basically all that would be doing would have been covering that swim diaper anyway. When it came to jackets and coats, depending on how old they're going to be when they might be in a little bit more of a colder climate, if they're in an infant carrier where you're just taking them directly from the home to the car, you may not even need something specific for like a coat or jacket or a bodysuit. In fact, I believe it's like the National Association of Safety and Transport. I probably have their name completely wrong, but they actually recommend putting a child into a car seat without a coat or jacket on, and that coat or jacket or blanket be wrapped around them after their seatbelt is on to keep them in a more safe, secure, like belt buckle situation. And so, for that reason, you may not need that if your child is young enough that they're not going to be going out playing, they're not going to be outside, and their sole exposure to the elements is going to be going from the car to the inside of the house or the inside of the house to the car, or vice versa. Because when I took my kids out in their infant carrier seat, like you can bet that they were strapped in. They had like blankets over them. They had a blanket over the car seat, like very limited exposure. But one year after my son turned one, and he was ready to be a little bit more active, we got him a bodysuit to get him out to experience snow. And oh my word, he looked like a marshmallow. It was so cute. He was so puffy. And there are some really cute body onesie suits out there for kids. I think he had like little bear ears. So adorable. Diapers. Most parents are going to spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 on diapers for that first year. This is going to include diapers, diaper rash cream or ointment, wipes, diaper pail, changing pad, and diaper covers. By the time I got to my second son, I was totally over the diaper pail. I realized that the point of having a diaper pail is to keep the smell inside the diapers and it's not permeating through the rest of your house. And I realized that if you just dropped the poop from the diaper into the toilet and then wrapped it up without all of the poop package, then that definitely decreased the smell and it pretty much eliminated it. Now, there were still instances where I would put that diaper into a plastic bag if we were using disposable for him and then, put that in the trash. But it kind of got to the point when we would use that routine with disposable diapers that I didn't even need a diaper pail. How much will you spend on your baby bath and any of the grooming items you need? Most parents are going to spend anywhere from $90 up to $175, and that's going to include a baby tub or insert, bath towels, baby shampoo or body wash, baby lotion, nail clippers, a hairbrush or comb set, a thermometer, and a nasal aspirator. So if you go to the hospital, then most hospitals, at least mine did, sent me home with one of those blue nasal aspirators, or is it green? Now, we also tried the, what is it, the nose Frida. Oh my goodness, like we did not have success with it. I know some parents swear by it, but I don't know if it was just the fact of like I couldn't get past the mental barrier of what we were doing and how we were getting the snot out of our son's nose, or if it was just the fact that, oh, I know what it was. It was like it wouldn't stay together. I don't know if we had a defective one or not, but after our challenges trying to get that thing to work, we just went back to the hospital provided nasal aspirator and used that. That worked far better than what the nose Frida was doing for us. As your baby grows, if they're growing out of whatever infant bathtub you have, but the tub of your regular shower is so slippery and it's really hard to keep them sitting in a single spot. So I found this mom hack that I tried out and I was really surprised at how well it worked, where it's you take a laundry basket and you put it in your bathtub and then you sit your baby in the corner of the bathtub. And I was so impressed. I love the fact that like it kept all of the all of the toys close by. So that way he's not like reaching over and falling over in the bathtub. It also, because the bottom of the basket is plastic, it provides a little bit more resistance than a really slippery like porcelain tub. So he stayed upright far easier. And he had like a corner to make sure it just provided him a little bit more stability. Oh my goodness, way better than anything I probably could have purchased. That would have been way more expensive than an actual laundry basket. So, hopefully, think about that as your baby gets a little bit older. You might be able to save a few extra bucks. And when they're done with their bath, I just found that our typical, regular, standard size bath towels and washcloths were way more absorbent and way softer than any other bath towels or like marketed baby washcloths. So you may not even need those compared to what you already have. In the safety category, it's going to include your baby's car seat, safety gates, outlet covers, safety locks or guards, and a first aid kit. Now, typically, most parents are going to spend anywhere from $260 up to $760 in this category. And all of these are pretty standard. Like, yes, please cover your outlets, please put up safety gates, please make sure your child is safe. Like, I think as moms, it's something that we already inherently know. Now, I do think that there's like, at least I felt so much pressure to have all of this done before our baby was born. And then it dawned on me like, oh yeah, they're not going to be walking around our house. They're not going to be crawling yet. I have a good 6 months before maybe not 6 months, before I have to do any of this because that baby is going to be sleeping in my arms or a crib for at least, 2 months before I've got to get all of this stuff installed. So it gave me a little bit more time to figure out really based off of what my new routine looked like as a mom and as parents to what we actually needed. One of the things I noticed as well was I hated having those like guards on our cupboards. So instead of installing guards on every single cupboard, what I did is I would just remove the items that weren't safe for my baby to get into and put it into a different spot of our home. For example, we used to have our knives in a drawer that would easily slide out, and we used to have our chemicals underneath the sink. So instead of putting on guards, I just moved the chemicals to an area that was way out of reach. Like I had to even get a stool to reach those chemicals. And we moved our knives from the drawer up into an upper cabinet so that way they couldn't reach them and I didn't have to install anything. And when I say I really mean my husband because he was the one doing the installation. Playtime. So, playtime is going to include any baby toys, an activity gym, a play mat, books, or teethers that you may purchase. And most parents are going to spend anywhere from $255 up to $620. And I do feel like this can very quickly become an inflated amount depending on how minimalist or maximalist you want to go in this area because none of these things are like essential items. I mean, teethers might be essential, but your baby is going to teeth regardless. So you don't have to give them a specific item. Some things that my babies actually preferred teething on weren't like teething toys. They were just toys of different textures that they already had. Some random items that didn't fall in the other categories are going to be a diaper bag, a stroller, a car mirror, a baby carrier, so that way you can be hands free while you're walking around the house. A baby carrier cover. This is going to be like what you might put over your infant car seat, or sometimes those are things that you would put over like a cart at the grocery store, a baby wipe warmer, and baby sunscreen, which you won't need at least until they turn 6 months anyway. Typical parents are going to spend anywhere from $255 up to $630 in this category. And the reason this amount is so extreme is because some diaper bags and strollers and baby carriers, there are some pretty high-end items that you can purchase. Most parents that I have talked to are not going to be purchasing like the high-end items in all three of these categories, but they may decide to purchase like one. My high-end item was actually a baby stroller. We bought a Phil and Ted's secondhand used baby stroller because I liked the way that the car seats, to make it a double stroller, it actually clipped on the back, so that way I didn't have to have two seats wide. It was a lot slimmer. Our expectation with our first was that we were planning to have more kids, and we did have more kids, and I didn't want to have two kids very close to the same age and have two separate strollers, especially if one of us went out as a parent with two of them and then trying to maneuver two different strollers. Like, that's not going to happen. We ended up spending, I think it was about $300 on a used Phil and Ted's. Now, they can range up to $600, I think, with all of the accessories that came with what we purchased. So take your expensive items with a grain of salt when it comes to the price point for these, because as I mentioned, they can be pretty pricey depending on the market that you're looking to purchase for. Like, if you're an extreme backpacker, you like to go hiking, you may spend $300 on a baby carrier because you're getting one where, attaches to your back and they're like, on your shoulders, etc., etc. You understand what I'm talking about. One way that we actually saved money in this category is when it came to our diaper bag. So some parents will choose to purchase a backpack that can transition with the baby when they go into school. They can just use that same bag and take it to school. I found a diaper bag that when I looked at it, I wanted to make sure it didn't specifically look like a diaper bag, that I could actually use that bag and carry like my computer, my work accessories. I could travel with it and it wouldn't scream, oh, this is a diaper bag, that it could kind of go into that casual office professional mode. That is exactly what I use it for today, is to carry my computer and my lunch and anything else that I may need while I'm traveling to and from work or on a business trip. So there are some sneaky ways that you can kind of determine what you're purchasing to actually use later, although it might be a little bit harder with some of the other items. The diaper bag is a little bit easier to transition to other stages of life. If you want that list of essential items for baby's first year, the average amount most parents spend, and rough estimates for each item, you'll find the details in the description below, where you can download the list for your own use. But there are some very generic ways to save on all of these costs, such as buying secondhand or going to a thrift shop, checking with your other moms in your area, especially if you're part of a mom's group, maybe not even purchasing them from each other, but passing them around and just borrowing for a season of time, especially if you're not all having kids at the same time. If you have a range of kids, that's one great way to save cost. Now, another thing that some department stores or online registries will offer is a big discount or coupon when it comes close to your baby's birth or after your baby's due date. So if you're still trying to decide which registry registry to use, maybe evaluate which one offers the best option for your specific area and then sign up for that registry. Some will also offer gifts or kind of like care packages to their registrants. So that may be an additional way that you can cut costs. But if you're a little overwhelmed with this list, because I mean, it is kind of extensive, then you might be interested in knowing what are the must have essentials before your baby is born. Well, if you're interested in watching that episode, I'll link it up for you next. But until we hang out again, create a home your heart loves.